Hello, everyone. Welcome to Word Funk. I'm Leon Thomas, and I'm joined by Austin Yorsky and Johnny Maloney for our first recording of the year. We took a short break for reasons, but we're back.
None of those reasons were gonorrhea related, just so everybody knows.
Okay.
My gonorrhea had nothing to do with it.
Okay, cool.
We didn't really need a reason. Like, we're making this sound conspiratorial. Like, we could take Christmas off. It's not a big. It's fine, honestly.
Yeah. Anyway, but we are back, and it's 2019 now, so we have to start learning how to sign our checks differently. Basically,
what's
but
a
besides
check?
that, besides that, everything's the same.
I'm a millennial. I don't use checks. I exclusively use Venmo 2, the sequel to Venmo.
There's one aspect of my life in which I have to write a check.
Yeah, I have to. Mine is just rent. Although in my new apartment, the leasing center is like right next to where I live, as opposed to 20 miles away where it was last place I lived. So I can, and I proved it when I moved in. I can just walk down to the leasing center and say, "Here's my credit card. I will call and pay it right in front of you so that you see it."
Fuck, that's so riveting, Leon. Do you want to tell us any stories about your new apartment?
God, like, look, the great thing about my new apartment is just, like, it works. Like it's not, like, a shitty place or, like, the top half of a house that's been renovated to be an apartment building but shouldn't be, or anything like that. A long time ago, a bad landlord put something negative in my credit rating, which was a lie. But it hounded me for a while, so I could only get like a decent place where you could technically live, but it's not awesome. And like the maintenance people wouldn't come. I fought it though. I fought it through the credit unions, and they were like, "Yeah, you are right. Why have you been living like this for so long?" And so because of that, I now live in like a community apartment complex that's like there's like a person that I can talk to when there's an issue and stuff. It's not like in the best neighborhood. It's still in a big city. It's not like in some like shitty fucking gated suburb. I would hate that. But it's nice enough that everything just works. Like I could come home and like turn on the shower and it doesn't just drip. It like pushes water forward into my face holes and everything. And the refrigerator has a light. It's awesome. I'm all about it, honestly. But yeah, there isn't much to say about my new place. It's a bunch of walls. It's smaller than my last place, but it's so much better in every other way.
May we all find such pleasure in the simple things in life.
Yeah, like it's so cool when something just works.
That wasn't even irony.
Like,
I think it's actually super dope when people can just like live and be excited about that. It's cool.
That's why I like.
Right.
That's why I like food so much. Is that it's like, I have to do this. I might as well enjoy it.
Yeah, it's good. My if I have one complaint about my place, it's not the management's fault even. I'm not sure if this is funny or sad. But like I guess I'm gonna tell the story. I'm kind of annoyed, but also like concerned about one of the tenants who also lives in the building. She clearly knows two other people who live in this building. I don't know if they're friends or family or what. But
how large a building are we talking here? Like how many floors?
There's three floors. There's like four, I don't know, apartments per floor.
All right.
It's not a high rise. It's just like a regular apartment community. But a couple, like 2 or 3 times a day, she comes down to my floor, to my next door neighbor, and knocks and says, "Frank." And then Frank, like, I think purposefully ignores her. And then she says, "Frank, I need help." And then eventually Frank stirs from his slumber and says, "Meh." And then she says, "Can I bum a smoke?" And then she repeats the process like 3 times a day. I guess because she just doesn't want to buy her own, or can't. If she can't, like, I feel for you. But if you can afford an apartment in a nice enough neighborhood, Like that seems odd to me. I don't know. I've never been addicted to anything, so I don't know how much the pull is. But she does it a few times a day. And sometimes she says, "Hey, I want a bum of smoke and a beer." And I was like, "Oh man, she's addicted to two different things. That's sad. This isn't funny at all. It's just annoying, and but also sad." But here's the thing: in addition to that, and her odd, moochy kind of relationship with Frank, who is apparently just a doll for putting up with this, I could not. I
Way to go,
genuinely
Frank.
can't. Yeah, I mean, either Frank just has the ability to take care of her and doesn't mind, or he's just sort of like accepted it. I haven't seen Frank. I know that this woman is like, let's say, older than me. But every once in a while, she comes to the floor below mine and knocks on someone else's door. And I think the other guy's name is Kevin, because I should also say this happens at all hours of the night. This isn't like at noon. She like saunters down like, well, it's time for lunch and a smoke. No, this could also happen at 2 a.m. when I am trying to sleep. She goes downstairs to poor Kevin, who is having exactly none of this shit. Kevin is tired of it. I don't know Kevin at all. But she knocks on his door, and for the first few nights this happens every day. For the first few nights I've been here, Kevin has sort of like grudgingly opened the door for her and helped her with whatever it is she needed. But I think it was last night or the night before, she knocked on his door, and after about 10 minutes of like her trying to get his attention, I started hearing him say, "No, I can't do this anymore." And I was like, "Oh shit! Is there drama all in my building? It's all about this one woman." He's like, "No, I won't." And she, every time he would say no, she would be like, "I'm begging you, please." And I'm like, "Oh my god, this is not funny anymore. It's just sad. I don't want this to be my life. I mean, how long am I going to live here? If knowing me, probably only 2 years. But still, that's a lot for every night." And she's like, I need $40. And he says, "I don't actually have it. Like, I can't do anything for you." It's like, "Well, how about something?" It's like, fuck, lady. Like, I feel bad for her because clearly she doesn't have anything in her life together. So like, I don't want to be like mean to her. I pity whatever it is she's going through, but also like, I don't know her whole story. There's like this, there's like sometimes people just need help, and you know, it's cool to ask for help if you need it. I don't ever want to be like one of those guys who says otherwise, but there's also people who can definitely take care of themselves, but like kind of take advantage of other people. And I don't know her well enough to know which one she is. She could just be like kind of like an old lady who needs help and doesn't know what else to do except to bug other people in the building. And if that's true, like, that's horrible. But I also feel like there's a possibility, because I've met people like her, or who I imagine she might be, who could just be just exploiting these two people who either just don't have the heart to tell her to stop, or in the case of Kevin, he clearly has told her and she just will not take no for an answer. That's the only reason why I'm sort of like budging on my like, oh, isn't she sad feeling, because clearly he has told her very clearly and in a loud ass voice that he can't do this anymore.
Right. Kevin is clearly setting boundaries.
Yeah, I feel like it's acceptable to set boundaries. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and he said no super loud, and many times. But here's the thing: like, eventually he gave in, like after a half an hour of this, and gave her something. I don't know what. And to me,
let's say half a beer, and the smoke that he was currently using.
Okay, entirely possible. I've been in positions where I can't help someone, but they bug me about it enough that it becomes less trouble to try anyway than it is than it would be the other way. You know, at some point it becomes less horrible to give someone money than it would be to lose the money. So I don't know how to feel about this because I don't know her. And I shouldn't care because it's none of my business. But it's so loud that it is because it's every night and it's several times every day.
Do you not have bylaws in your building?
There probably is something I could do about it, but I don't want to get someone kicked out of their apartment for being an old lady who doesn't know her ass from, like I said, I don't know her story.
Yeah.
I don't want to narco on her if she's just going through a thing, because everyone's gone through a thing. That's kind of where I am. Like, I don't know whether I should feel really bad for this woman and just leave her to her own devices and wait it out, because this is a minor inconvenience compared to whatever it is she's going through, or actually do something about it. At this point, I've accepted this is mostly just none of my business. Let me rephrase that. This is none of my business until it becomes intolerable, I guess. I don't want to be like the person. The thing is, like, I'm not against ever calling the police, for example, like under any circumstances. But generally speaking, if there's literally any way around it, I would not like to, because I don't know what they're going to do. I don't trust them enough. I don't trust them enough to let them loose on a person. So that doesn't feel like an option. And I also don't want to like narco on someone to the leasing office and say, hey, this lady's loud, get rid of her or something. I don't know. It seems the thing is like, and here, I suspect they would also know it was me because I'm the new one. I think everyone else in the building is probably just used to it.
They're all resigned to their fates.
Yeah, they're like, well, that's that lady. I don't even know her name. I know the other people's names because she shouts them loudly. The other ones don't address her by name. She's just a figure, a shadow.
Well,
I don't know.
like, give it a few weeks, give it a month.
Yeah.
Till you've settled in.
I mean,
and then, when you're not the new guy anymore, do what you gotta do.
Yeah. I don't know what the thing is. Like, I thought about one time when it went on for like a half an hour, I thought, would it be so wrong to walk into the hall and just ask her nicely to stop? Instead of, I don't want to go out in the hall and like, listen, lady, because that's not me. I don't have like an aggressive voice. But I can ask someone nicely to stop. But also at the same time, I kind of don't want to meet her either. I don't know. It's a weird situation that shouldn't be my problem, but it feels like it's becoming. I don't know. I did meet one person in the building. He knocked on my door and says, "Hey, you got mail hanging out next to your door. So no one steals it. Make sure you have it." Oh, thank you. It was a sticker that I ordered because I wanted to put something on my refrigerator.
Unicorns?
Say again?
Unicorns?
No. Yeah, it's like a vaporwave looking thing. That now emblazons my freezer. That's the style I'm going for in my apartment. I want it to look like it's from the not too distant future.
Like the year 2019 in Blade Runner?
Yeah, exactly. There is actually a sort of like kind of like Neo Tokyo or Blade Runner-ish tapestry that's coming in the mail soon, because even though not like I said, not a big apartment, there's also just still a lot of space because it's just me here and I don't, have like couches and stuff. So there's just this big wall that's empty. So I'm getting a tapestry to hang on it. That's it. That's basically what's going on in my life. I did not have a good Christmas, which is a shame because I love Christmas. But because it was like right in the midst of getting ready for the move, I wasn't super thrilled. I was under a lot of stress. The move was weird because every other time I've moved in my life, what I've done is like a month or so before the lease is up, I would look at a different place and I'd be like, okay, this is the place I want. I'm going to sign a lease and the lease starts in a month. And like, okay, see you then. And then I would inform my current place, hey, I'm leaving and I'm giving you a month's notice. And like, okay. And that was life. But this place, you don't do that. You get accepted by the application, but you don't officially sign the lease until move-in day. And that freaked me out because, like, you know, I had to surrender my key to my old place as I drove off, which meant, like, if I get there and something suddenly went wrong, and it's like, oh, we can't actually let you sign the lease because we've decided we hate you. I'm not sure I would have. I'm not sure I would have any immediate legal recourse, even though they said I was accepted. So I was freaking out because legally speaking, I was going to be homeless for 4 hours while I drove.
You would have a case for promissory estoppel, but it would take 8 months to get through the courts. But
that's kind of what I didn't know that term, but that's kind of what I was worried about, where it seemed like I could be in the right legally, but there's no way I would have a place to stay that night. So yeah, thank you for that, Austin. that's actually worse than I thought it would be.
I mean, that was a ballpark. You never know. Maybe they'll settle in the first week. You know, sometimes things go on for years. Sometimes they're over in days.
Good Lord. Yeah, but anyway, that was my last couple of weeks. I'm fine now. Everything's cool. Besides the fact that it is sometimes loud in this apartment building. So please, someone take the baton and stop me from talking.
I got kicked out of Christmas.
You got?
Oh no!
How do you
Tell
get
me all
kicked
about
out
it.
of Christmas?
Does that mean the Grinch appeared? Or
We got kicked out of Christmas.
Did he steal it?
Okay, so there's a lot of backstory to this. I'll try to get through it as quickly as possible.
The Christmas bouncer just walked in and was like, "That's it.
You've had enough. We're cutting you off."
Where's your red hat?
Yeah. I mean, longtime listeners will know my whole family situation, but the short version is I have an adopted father who's Ukrainian, and I have a half-brother and a half-sister. For the purposes of this story, I'm just going to call them my brother, sister, and dad, but that's not 100% accurate. It's just easier to say. My sister lives in insert central Florida city here. Far away. It's many hours away from Tallahassee because Florida is an extremely large state. I went down there for Thanksgiving, and I told a story on this podcast about how we watched like 8 hours of Friends, and she wouldn't let me watch the dog documentary or dogumentary. And I eventually convinced her to watch Jeopardy, and that was my reprieve from that torture. We had a rough. No one in my family really gets along, but that was my brother didn't go to Thanksgiving, partially because him and my sister don't get along, partially because he had something else to do, I think. But this time he couldn't get out of it. We both had to go down to visit her and my dad, he's coming from a different Florida city, a southern Florida city. So we all converged at her apartment for Christmas. I think that's all the backstory. We got there, and my brother and sister started fighting almost immediately.
Now, was this did this convergence happen on Christmas Day?
I think it was the day before.
Okay, I don't know.
Austin, paint me a picture, because when you say they started fighting right away, I imagine one of them was already there, the other one opens the door and points and says "you," or is it different?
It's not that
song
far
from
off.
Kill Bill starts playing.
So
I'm sorry.
we got there, and so instead of Friends, we had to watch The Office, another sitcom about white people being terrible to each other.
The American Office, I'm assuming.
Yes.
It's like the background radiation of whiteness if you just have that on Netflix running and on repeat in your home. But ananyway,
no, it really is. I said that as we were driving away at the end of the story. This is like a flashback. How did we get here? We're driving away, and it was Friends, and then it was The Office, and it feels symbolic, really, if you actually watch those shows and about the sociopathy they contain. Anyway,
so what you're trying to tell me is that in Easter you're probably going to Will and Grace it up?
Is that? I haven't seen much Will and Grace. Are they mean too?
They have they all have a fun but occasionally snarky relationship with each other, but that is in the service of jokes, which is true of all sitcoms, really.
Aren't we all in the service of jokes? Anyway.
Sometimes I feel like jokes are in the service of me.
Okay, so we have to watch The Office, and I actually get to give my brother credit. We sat and we watched several episodes of The Office. He gave it a try. but eventually he started going stir crazy.
All right, okay, hang on a second. I just want to clarify a situation here.
Yeah.
You say that you had to watch several episodes of The Office. Now, was this kind of like when you arrived, The Office was playing?
Oh yeah.
And she was just like intractable as to playing anything else, or was it like, good, you're here. Now I will start The Office from the very beginning.
No, it's my understanding that Netflix is just running 24/7 in their apartment. My sister and her boyfriend.
All right.
That sounds like a bad use of electricity. That's the first thing I have to say. The second thing I have to say is, when you say you had to watch The Office, were there any anklets involved?
Well, as you will come to discover, my brother had a similar revelation.
Okay.
Well, it's also, I don't know if I told this, but an important detail of the story is me and my brother live in Tallahassee, and he drove me down there. Okay, so we have that in mind. Like I said, longtime listeners will know I don't have a driver's license, so that was implied. But anyway, back to the story. So we watched a lot of The Office, and there's nothing else to do in this apartment, right? Like, it's a pretty small apartment, not trying to be mean, it just is. There's nothing else really to do. There's only the one TV. There are video game systems, but we're not allowed to play them.
Oh, jeez.
There's also, I believe there was basketball on, because my brother wanted to watch it, but he was not allowed. When I say not allowed, I mean he asked, and my sister said, no, not in my apartment. And this is kind of like a meme now between me and my brother, where it's like, can you get me that cup from behind you? Not in my apartment. Like, because that was basically what she said to everything that we said. We're like, oh, can we play Smash Brothers? Not in my apartment. Can I watch basketball? Not in my apartment. Like, it went on for, I don't know, an hour. And then it kept escalating and getting snippier. Like, there was a Christmas tree, and my brother was like, is this real or fake? And she's like, why don't you get your own Christmas tree? And he's like, what? What does that even mean in this?
Did you bring the ceremonial Christmas tree so that we may compare them? Also, can I go to the bathroom in your apartment, or is there going to be an answer that's not going to be great?
Now I'm just picturing Christmas tree jousting.
Well,
where it's like, like he brings his own Christmas tree, and then upon a mighty steed, you ride at each other. Fully dressed up Christmas tree. I'm talking lights, tinsel, and everything. And then just, old school joust.
It occurs to me that this recording is absolutely going to be played at my funeral as my sister is gloating over my body.
Not in my apartment.
By
the way, that is definitely going to be the title. I just want to tell you ahead of time.
So, for all, to give him full credit, at this point, my dad kind of tried to step in, and he was like, oh, so you got one of those Nintendo Switches. What kind of game you got for that? And he doesn't know fucking anything about video games. God love him. But he's just trying to change the subject. And I was like, oh, yeah, I got Zelda, and I got Mario. It's pretty cool. And Tyler's like, yeah, we can play it without turning the TV to something different. We can just, and he was like trying to explain it, and my sister just pipes up and goes, why don't you get your own Switch? And it was his. It was my brother. Why did that? Once again, she just keeps asking Tyler, why doesn't he get his own stuff? And it doesn't even make any sense in context. And so that goes on for a while. You're not allowed to do it in my apartment, or why don't you get your own? And eventually, this escalates in a way that's kind of like labyrinthine, and I was deliberately just trying not to make eye contact. But it culminates with her saying, either you leave or I'm leaving. And so my brother gets up and walks out of the apartment. He's my ride.
Right.
So we got kicked out of Christmas. And we just got back in the car and drove back like 5 hours to Tallahassee.
Okay,
I don't know if that's exactly kicked out of Christmas. It sounds to me like you were removed from Christmas.
We're splitting hairs.
Here's the thing, Austin. If I were your brother, I would call that bluff, and I would say, actually, yes, you may leave your apartment. I am staying. So since you gave me that choice, I am collecting on it. And see what she does. She would almost certainly say, get your own choice, or apartment in my apartment, or some sort of variation of those words.
That would be quite a bluff to call.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not every day you get a chance to like try to kick somebody out of their own apartment on Christmas Eve. So
Right. That'd be really exciting if he went for it, is what I'm saying. I guess he decided to be the bigger person.
I
so
mean,
that is probably...
I don't know if it's the bigger person. You do get to enjoy storming out of some place, which is just a highlight in anyone's kind of day. I don't know how many times you
know
guys
what?
have stormed out. It's pretty good.
That's true. I do enjoy a good storm out. One of my
Yeah.
first jobs, I had the opportunity to tell my boss to stick it and stormed out. And that, like, I'm so happy I got to do that at least once in my life.
It's pretty good.
My favorite storm out, I was in a barber shop, and there were white people talking, and one of the white people was a barber, and he started saying the N-word a lot.
Oh my! And you were like, "Not in my barber shop."
And upon and by the way, he wasn't singing along to a rap song. He was very negatively talking about black people. So I stood up and started walking toward the door, and he, not understanding my social cue, just thought that it was taking too long for it to be my turn. And he said, "Sir, it's almost your turn." And I said, "I'm not giving my business to a racist." And then I left and I closed the door. That was my best storm off because I feel like I was 100% right. I'm sure I've left the room in a huff many other times in my life just for being a jerk or having an argument with someone where like I'm at least half wrong. But that's the one I like.
Yeah, that's a good storm off. That's like something someone would lie about on social media. Where they're like, "Oh, my child said that the national debt is getting out of control," or so, one of those good lies that people do.
I just left this hipster barber shop.
Yeah, fuck that guy. I can't even. Anyway, yeah, we did talk.
Yeah, the weird. I'm sorry. I just want to say real quick. In my old neighborhood, the barber shops were weirdly segregated. This was, I guess, the white people barber shop. I usually just got my haircut at the black people barber shop. It wasn't a big deal. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that to sound cool or anything. It's just that the white people barber shop was owned by a racist, and it doesn't. No matter what your hair is, it's pretty easy to give a buzz cut to someone who's almost bald. Anyway,
yeah, I was gonna say, Leon. Like it seems to me that your hair is relatively low maintenance.
It's super low maintenance. If I were a little less lazy, I would just do it myself. But I don't trust myself with anything sharp. So I'm too afraid I'm gonna hurt myself. That's how bad I am. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Austin. Is there more to this story?
I mean, not much more. We just drove back. I mean, we did talk on the way about like, what would he? I mean, if we would have said she was supposed to leave, what would she have done? Like, we did acknowledge the absurdity of that, but it was all absurd. Like, there wasn't anything he could see. Basically, every single word that came out of his mouth, was met with like a sharp retort, and it was just never going to work. And I realized that entire story painted my sister in a very bad light. We've all been extremely terrible to each other. I've told a lot of stories about what a bastard I was growing up. Like, I'm at fault for a lot of stuff that simmers between us, although I've extremely mellowed out and largely not the aggressor these days. But I mean, we all harbor shit towards each other, so it is more complicated. I gave the funnier short version, but
That's really gracious of yourself, Austin. But here's the thing: like, you're all grown ass adults at this point, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Just throwing that out there. She's not like a super younger sister, like she's 18 or something.
No, there's like 2 years between each of us, and I'm 28.
Oh, okay.
Come on, like when you're hosting somebody, especially family members, you have to acknowledge that like you do have to make concessions.
Oh, absolutely not. In fact, we clowned a lot, maybe too much, on the fact that basically even her boyfriend has to ask permission to do anything in their apartment.
Oh, I would feel bad for him, but isn't that also the boyfriend who's Islamophobic?
Oh yeah, and which is also why I think my brother not only skipped Thanksgiving, but I think last Christmas as well, because he's just like, oh, if I see that dude, I'm gonna beat his ass.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it's just gonna happen. Like, he was, I mean, the fact that he even showed up was a huge concession to my dad, for whom basically the only thing that matters is that we try not to hate each other. So it was just like, it was very much a favor to him that my brother showed up and did not start a single thing with the boyfriend, who we just tried to treat, amicably, despite the things he's said,
Yeah. Okay.
I don't want to open that one again, but
Fair enough.
we got kicked out of Christmas, so.
Okay. We've had an interesting couple weeks apart from each other, and all have weird apartment related stories. I guess I'm trying to find a theme here, but it's not. It's superficial at best.
Has it been that long? It doesn't feel like it.
No, we took 1 week off, and then it was delayed by a few days. So really, our hiatus officially lasted a week and a half.
Okay. Also, Johnny and I recorded something else. I don't know when this word funk is going up, but I guess plug for another project. Johnny and I played in a D&D game, dungeon mastered by Michael Skicciano, which should be going up, among other places on the Dice Funk feed. So if you want to hear Chaboy Johnny,
tune in.
Yeah, he's back in the game. He plays a great character who you have to hear. Just the accent work, mwah, chef kiss.
Okay. What is this show called?
I mean, it's kind of just a Dice Funk related spinoff. It's just I'm not the DM as usual. So
okay.
Yeah, it's sort of set in a common world, I guess, that we stumbled into over time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that probably these two episodes are going up around the same time. So if it's not up now, check back in like an hour. If you're hearing this, it'll be up soon. But yeah, Johnny's back in the mix. Jess from Dice Funk Season 1's back. We got...
Oh, that's nice.
People have been asking for other people. We got Nick from Weekly Manga Recap. It's a good time. So...
Yep. We had some fun.
Yeah, Johnny, did you get kicked out of Christmas?
No. I actually had a surprisingly relaxing Christmas, which was
great.
Kind of startling to me, actually. I haven't done Christmas very well for the past couple of years. Christmas used to be like a big thing for my dad. I've probably talked about this before. So it's always kind of a melancholic time of year when it comes around. I'm often reminded of, like Company Lost, and since Steph and I split up, it's kind of been like sort of a double hammer of that. I'm finding it difficult to separate certain elements of my grief. So like, yeah, Christmas Eve came around, and I was like, just sort of like on my couch all alone, like staring at the television, just trying to muster the energy to get my shit together and get in the car and drive down to my mom's. That's usually where we spend Christmas. Right now, my mother lives with my sister, my brother-in-law, and my nephew, because he's at school right now, and she works a job that's... I suppose I can talk about this, actually, now that it's like 100% legal in Canada. She does lab work for a company that tries to determine the potency of commercial cannabis products. The problem is that the legalization process in Canada has been sloppy. So, like, we legalized back in October, and I still think we don't have an officially, like, recreational licensed supplier of cannabis products in the Greater Vancouver Regional District. It's been a mess, really. So her work has been constantly kind of tripping over licensing issues and new rules and bylaws that the government just seems to be pulling out of its ass. So her work has been kind of indefinite for like the last little while. So I finally mustered up my courage, and I drove down to the house, and basically I just spent like 5 days where my family did nothing but take care of me. And as a grown-ass adult, there is just no pleasure in life greater than somebody taking care of you. Like, I sat down, and it was like, oh, do you want a cup of tea? Here you go. Hey, like, have some food. And they would just hand me beverages and food and things like that. And all I had to do was basically decide when I was going to go to bed. And it was fantastic. It was just what I needed. I came off the holidays quite sick because my nephew is a snot monster who has now reached the age where he's learned how to fit his entire hand in his mouth and loves giving me high fives. So it's like watching this massive goo just kind of like waddle towards me with this extended, glistening little tiny nub of a hand and go, Uncle John! And it's like, hey, buddy, high five!
Johnny, what you need is a stick that you can just reach out and like keep him at like a few feet of distance away from you, but you can still have some sort of contact with him. Just a thought.
As you can hear, I'm still kind of kicking a cough. Excuse me. But I mean, and it's like you don't want to say no to him because he's at this kind of like vulnerable sort of age where like you want to make sure he sort of feels supported. Like he's really shy, so when he opens up and he actually wants like contact and stuff like that, it's something that like we're trying really hard to encourage. So excuse me again. Yeah, so yeah, I came off the holidays quite sick. But it was well relaxing, and it was really like I needed it. I really did.
Cool.
So no, I didn't get kicked out of Christmas. I got tucked into Christmas. There we go. Somebody put slippies on me. It was like you just sit there, and it's gonna be okay.
That's cool.
It was a big relief because I was not feeling it in the days leading up to Christmas, and like to actually, like I didn't have to worry about anything practically. It was good. I felt cared for and I felt loved, which is something that's kind of been absent in my life of late.
Oh, that's good.
Well, I'm glad you had a good Christmas.
Yeah.
I actually did something on New Year's Eve.
Ooh,
which is unusual for me.
Did you kiss someone?
No,
'Cause I did.
Obviously not. That's adorable that you would think that is even an option.
Well, come on, it's a New Year's tradition where you're from, right?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. But like, I'm not dating anyone.
I know.
Like, I can't just grab someone. It's like, well, it is midnight, so by law, But hey, no. A friend of mine invited me to play some like Jackbox games with a lot of our mutual friends. And I had a really great time because we basically just like gossiped about other YouTubers and cracked jokes and played games. I won one of them. I was very witty.
Leon. I'm proud.
That actually
Quiplash?
really made my day. Say again?
Was it Quiplash?
No. The one that I won, I can't remember what it was called. You had to draw something and like try to sell it to the other players by like claiming it as a new invention. I'm not going to say what mine are on the air because it's kind of inflammatory, but I did do well, and I had a really good time. I should do that more often with my friends. Yeah, but that's pretty much all the things that are going on with me. The rest is just work. Yeah.
Thank you, Leon, for sharing.
Sure. Austin, you usually have like a million things. Is there any media you would like to talk about? I have something, but I don't want to keep talking out of my word hole this entire episode. I feel like I should throw it back at some point.
Hell yeah, homie. I'm up to my fucking dick and stuff to talk about. It's just Media City.
Okay.
We were gone for like 2 weeks, my dude. So the thing I want to talk about most is Stellaris. I didn't even get a couple. Okay,
Johnny's just gonna slide into this conversation here. Hi, Austin.
What is it?
Yeah, so it's gonna take some setup. So there's a video game called Stellaris. Stellaris.
I just found it.
Okay, it is a 4X game, which is a genre that they don't really make much of anymore, but the 4Xs are exploration, exploitation, expansion, and extermination, I believe.
Yes.
Johnny, check my work?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, I think probably most typified by Civilization is like the game that the only one of this genre I'm really familiar with at all, honestly. It's not my genre.
I mean, it's the tent pole.
Yeah, everyone knows Civilization. I think even if you don't play video games, you probably you've heard Baba Yetu, right? Like people know Civilization.
I have heard of it.
Yeah, Stellaris is the space version of that, obviously. So the game is you play a space civilization and you kind of explore the galaxy, setting up new planets, and you manage an economy and politics and war and stuff. It's a really long term, I don't know, thousands of years, I think, of history of your solar empire. It's extremely complicated, very, maybe not for the genre. I realize this is the nerds, the nerdiest of nerd genres. There are probably games that are infinitely more complicated by comparison, but for the average person, it's very difficult. And I played 50 hours of it over the last couple of weeks. It's incredibly dense, and I have so many thoughts. The first thing that's funny, though, is I sat down, I opened it, and immediately I get a message on Steam from Johnny, I see you're playing Stellaris.
Yeah. Just my spidey sense was tingling, and I was in the bath, actually. And I
So
just,
you were naked.
I was, no towel, just covered in suds, just stark-ass naked, run to the computer, log into Steam.
You know how they say sharks can sense a drop of blood in water for 20 miles? That's Johnny and me playing strategy games.
Yeah.
So where to even start with all this? I think 4X is a pretty politically fraught game because they assume from the base standpoint that Empire is good. It has exploitation right in the genre name. I first thought I would kind of try to play the most chill Empire possible, but then I realized that you have to colonize planets. It's not an option to not do that. You don't have to necessarily go to war, but it did happen. So let me tell you the story of the Sildari Empire, which is what I played. They are a race of otter people. They're mammals, water mammals. I think they're supposed to be otters. But I mean, this game has a ton of templates for creatures, for government types. There's all these different kinds of government you can be. There's all these axes.
Right off the bat too.
Yeah.
Because the way Civ plays is that everybody starts out kind of as a despotic empire, and then over time you can be oh no, now we're a monarchy. Oh no, now we're a democracy. But right at the outset, you can set your species to be hegemonic pacifists that are really xenophobic or xenophilic, or something like that.
The way it starts is there are all these axes, right? From xenophile to xenophobic. There's from authoritarian to democratic, I think. There's
even species that are insect hive minds.
Yeah, there's spiritualist to materialist,
or lifted up artificial intelligence and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of levers and a lot of switches and dials and stuff. The game's very customizable. When you started a game, you can pick the map size, the number of other civilizations, how long the game's gonna go for, the difficulty. There's just it's a very game designer's game where you can really get into your hands into the guts of it. So I tried to play the most basic, normal, vanilla version, just kind of try to get the experience as the designers expect you to start with. The Sildari otter people were a xenophilic, so I liked aliens, pacifist, which means there's all these things have mechanical as well as ethical implications. Pacifist, spiritual empire. So I feel those are all pretty obvious on their face. So xenophile, we like aliens. Spiritualist has economic consequences, which I might talk about a little bit. And pacifist, I think, is probably the most interesting one because there's a scale from fanatically pacifist to militarist to fanatical militarist, right? So I'm not fanatical pacifist, which is you can only fight in self-defense. As a pacifist, I could fight with proper cause, which will come up in my story. So the game starts, and there's this really long early game where you're kind of just floating around space, checking out planets, sending survey probes, starting colonies, managing materials, setting up an economy, and this goes on for hours. I don't know off the top of my head how much, but there's like 10 hours where you're basically just playing like city councilor treasurer simulator, which I imagine is probably a deal breaker for 99.9% of people on planet Earth. But people
I find it engrossing.
Yeah.
But, you know.
I mean, Paradox, the company who makes this game.
I was born to be I don't know.
Comptroller.
Comptroller.
Yeah.
Yes.
The people who make this game, Paradox, they're like famous for making these, like Crusader Kings 2, their other big hit, like are renowned. They're very successful, very popular. They've been doing DLC for these games for years. Like, there is an audience. It's a niche, but there's a hunger for this kind of content within that niche. So I don't want to like poo-poo it. People love these games, but it's a very specific kind of person. So
yeah.
After like the 10 hours of setting all my shit up, I run into the first alien species. I think they're called the Bothamarians. And these are all kind of procedurally generated. There's like a box of like a physical kind of aliens, different ethics, philosophies, cultures, stat bonuses and stuff. Like, it's kind of all, drawn from a hat. So if you play it like
what climates they thrive best in,
yes.
like how much they breed, what their lifespan is, like yeah.
Theoretically, a game's supposed to be different every time you play it, which is really cool. Although, if you understand game design, you will see the creases and the stitches, and they're there, and I do recognize that. But it's a fun illusion. So I run into the Bothamarians, and they are militant spiritualists. So they do like war. They're out for war, but we share spiritualism, which is an interestingly generic thing. It doesn't go into the specifics of our religions, right? Like, what do we actually believe in? Not important. We're both very spiritual. So the game has a kind of a politics system where you can have like trade deals, and you can close your borders, open your borders, share research, share all kinds of stuff. It's not excruciatingly deep, but it has enough there where I was able to keep them friendly for a while. So even though they were militaristic and I was pacifistic, we had enough in common, and I used the tools available. They were not a threat. So cool. I'm on good terms with the Bothamarians. I keep expanding, and then I run into the motherfucking Bilnock. That's Bilnoc. The Bilnock are the bane of my fucking existence for a while. They are snail people, and they are xenophobes. They hate aliens. And so immediately we have a huge beef, and they will not stop talking shit. They're constantly on my dick, and they cut me off from expanding further, which is a huge deal. Like, your entire survival depends on your ability to colonize a lot of planets and get a lot of resources. So they cut off my expansion. I can't go through it. I would have to declare war, and that's not what I'm about. So I'm boxed in. That's strike number 1. Strike number 2, they're racist. Fuck them. Strike number 3, they're rude. I hate the Bilnock. So I start trying to expand in another way, and I run into a third alien. These guys are like the Sildarath or something. They're totally chill. They're like huge hippies. I think they have the same thing as me. They're pacifists, xenophiles. We get on like a house on fire. I love these dudes. We start a federation, right? We're BFFs. But then the fucking Bilnock start shit with the Sildarath, and now I gotta help my homie go to war, and we gotta fuck these snails up. And
you gotta throw down when your bro gets his knickers in a twist.
Yeah. So I'm a pacifist civilization, but these racist ass snails start shit with my dudes, and we gotta throw down. And I fucking vaporize the Bilnock Navy. And here's where I realize that Stellaris is a combat game. I'm like 20 hours deep into this thing, and I'm like, oh shit, I have to learn how this combat works. And I do not like it, Sam. I am. It's extremely complicated. You have to manage. First, you have to build ships, and then you got to put ships into fleets. And there's so many. You have to merge the fleets and split the fleets and dock the fleets. And Oh my god.
Get admirals.
The fleets. And so even though I totally vaporized the Bilnock Navy, I'm sitting there for hours trying to figure out how to end this fucking war. And in hindsight, what I was supposed to do was take ground armies, not navies, space navies, but armies from my planet, and then orbitally bombard their planets to wear down their defenses, and then use a ground invasion to occupy their planet. I didn't know any of that. So I'm just I have their war exhaustion up to 100%. It means they hate this war where I vaporized their navy. So they cannot get any more demoralized, and they have no more ships. I'm flying around in circles like, why won't you surrender? And at the end of this, so I don't know how much longer this would have gone on. Maybe I would just quit the game. But eventually what happens is the Sildarath meet their war goals and force the Bilnock to surrender some territory. And so because I don't know how to play this game, we balkanize the hell out of the Bilnock. Like, their nation basically gets like whole shot through it, and they turn into like several countries. So the politics get wild here, right? So now there's like the Bilnock Nation and the Bilnock Council and the Bilnock Confederacy or something. We shredded their country apart because my homies try to claim certain lands. They try to vassalize other lands, and the Bilnock culture shatters. Like, some of them are pacifist and some of them are xenophiles and some of them are military. It's like we decimate them, and I feel really bad about this, but also fuck those racist snails. So yeah, I eventually learned the mechanics, but I don't particularly enjoy them. So I could go on, like, literally I could do a whole show about the story of my empire, which I think is really cool. Like, I start a federation, and some people ask to join it. Some people ask to be my vassals because I need my protection because I have a good military. But eventually the Bothomarians, the first guys I found who we were friends with, they flip on me because I am in a federation with someone they hate for unrelated reasons. And it's just like, oh, you're allies with those people we hate, so fuck you. So now I have to defend my other border against people who used to be my allies. It's wild. But what ends up happening after like 50 hours of me breathlessly playing this incredibly complicated game that I'm really into is something called an Endgame crisis triggers, basically like a final boss. Some super aliens from outside the galaxy, which I had no opportunity to prepare for, no context for. There's like no... They just show
essentially,
up.
yeah. Essentially, it's Stellaris will force like a late game kind of galaxy-wide crisis on you.
Yeah, it's like, hey, it's final boss time.
Pretty much, yeah. But it will be kind of tailor-made according to like how everybody is playing. So there's like several different kind of end game alarms.
Yeah, I know there's these quest chains. There's like stuff throughout the game because most of it's procedural, but there's like some written content in there where you'll find something and it'll kick off like a quest that leads through several quests. It's pretty cool. Like, I found one where it was like, on this planet you found the remains of a terraforming device, and this planet was actually pretty inhospitable to my otter people. It was like a desert planet which I colonized because I just needed more planets. And I was like, well, this planet fucking sucks for these people, and I'm role-playing them. I think they would try to terraform this planet, even though I know, Austin Yorsky, that this quest obviously is going to have some kind of twist, right? Like, that's how game design and writing works. So they turn the terraformer back on, and it destroys the planet and kills every single last man, woman, and child on it. Just absolutely genocides that entire planet, and it's like, whoops. But I kind of already knew it was going to happen because there had to be something. I thought it would be less devastating. It would like be bad, but not that bad. But like, there's stuff like that. So there's a part where I found like a black hole, and like something was whispering people's names, like specific people in my empire, and so I was like bringing them to the black hole, and they were disappearing inside, and I was like, this is bad, this is going to lead somewhere extremely bad. So I stopped answering the whispering inside the black hole. Like, that probably could have led to some kind of crisis or something. There was I found like a civilization who had uploaded their minds into machines. I just like deleted all that. I was like, I'm not fucking with a fucking machine empire. So what eventually did happen was just a bunch of Independence Day ass bitches showed up. Just, they don't communicate. You cannot parlay with them. They just show up and they're like, oh, time for the final boss fight. And I didn't want to do it. So I didn't uninstall, but I don't know if I have any intention of going back, because that's not what I like about the game. I don't like the combat. and I don't like contextless fighting. Even if I did like the fighting, I just don't want to do it. Like, I want to know what the Sildari choose to do in this galaxy. I don't want to fight dudes because they want to fight.
I mean, you know, and to be fair to the game, that's, like I said, not the only like final scenario that pops up. It can be it's one of several different things. I've had a number of things happen to me in all the hours that I've put into Stellaris. Interestingly enough, as well.
Yeah.
There's a mod on the workshop, on Steam Workshop, called ST: New Horizons. That may very well be the best Star Trek game of all time.
I figured it out. Yeah, well, Johnny, do you have any Stellaris stories? Because I remember this is a game. It's kind of like Eve, where people like love telling stories about it. Where it's also Crusader Kings, the other Paradox game of note. It's just like, man, this dude married his own cousin to secure an alliance with France, but then his sister killed him on his wedding day. Like, these people have this wild and shit because all the way these systems interlock. I just want to know if you had any like cool shit like that.
Oh man. You know, like I've had a couple of pretty interesting games of Stellaris. There was one where I managed to create an empire that like belted across the galaxy. It was like a long empire. I basically divided the galaxy in two, and as such, sort of became the arbiter of like who was allowed to go to war with each other. Because if you wanted to fight somebody else on the other side of the galaxy, you had to come through my space.
Yeah.
That was an interesting game just because of the politics of it. I once accidentally created a robot uprising.
Yeah, that's something the game seems to really want you to stumble into. There's constantly like, do you want to start experimenting with AI? And it's like, no, dog, I've read science fiction. I know if I research this shit, it's gonna rebel. I'm not stupid.
Yeah, but the thing is that like you can, depending on the way that you react to it, there can come a point in time where, you know, sometimes they'll just be like, hey, can we have rights? And you can be like, okay.
Yeah, I was playing a spiritualist empire, and one of their things is you can't give AI rights without extremely upsetting the populace. It's a pretty cool system of like there's like different political factions you have to curry favor with or suppress, and it's not the deepest,
like
but it's cool.
Your government gets different parties, and basically according to like how your empire behaves, certain parties will gain like more influence in parliament or something like that. But then again, that goes back to what kind of government you have when you like start out the game. You know, like I've had leaders just like up and die on me right in the middle of a war, and then somebody just kind of like pops up because they're the next in line in this like monarchy, and suddenly it's like, we don't like war anymore. But then the government's all like, yeah, we do.
Yeah, I was playing as a democracy, which has the benefit of increasing population happiness. So I was never in danger of like a revolt or a rebellion or anything. But the downside is you have to keep meeting your you have to fulfill your campaign promises. And unfortunately, I think the game's buggy. I actually Googled it, and apparently this is a known bug where it's like, my campaign promise was to build 3 electric stations, and I did. And then it was like, Shabar Kaflor did not fulfill his promises and was not reelected. And it's like, yo, I definitely did that, but it's too late. He's gone. And the benefit of keeping people around is they keep getting experience, which makes them more effective. And if you want to play as an authoritarian where you don't have to fuck with that election shit, the trade-off is your guy stays around and gets more levels, but it makes the population unhappy because they don't have a say, and then there might be rebellion. So there's constantly trade-offs. I think it's really cool.
It's a dense game, but like, you know, as I told you, Austin, if you're gonna pick up a Paradox strategy game, it's probably a great place to start.
Yeah,
because it's young as well. Because at this point in time, trying to pick up Crusader Kings 2 would be difficult because it's been around for so long. They've refined so much of the gameplay particularly for people who keep coming back to it.
Yeah, if you go to the Steam page, all their games have like 8,000 DLC packs or whatever. Like, they're extremely well supported, and like I said, very popular within their niche. But it makes them intimidating. It took me like 30 hours to learn how to play this game. Luckily, I was having fun. It wasn't like Final Fantasy 13 where it doesn't get fun for 30 hours. It was fun. It was just also baffling.
Almost routinely, you have to like burn your first save game for like any Paradox strategy game.
Mm-hmm.
Like you play it for like 10 or 15 hours and then be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna start over now.
Yeah, I
Stellaris is not that bad, actually.
Yeah, that didn't happen to me, but I think I caught some lucky breaks. Like I said, like I joined a federation pretty early, and so I had people teaming up with me. I didn't like splinter politically that much. I built a bunch of like public works stuff that increased unity, so people supported my government, and my political party was the Alien Friendship League, and so I kept getting people like friends with me, and so I was like big beefing most of the game. And it wasn't until the final alien showed up that I was like, oh, now I actually have to learn how to fight good. So, I mean, I wonder if I could beat them if I tried.
Well, you and I will have to try and play sometime.
Yeah, it's also multiplayer, which seems bananas. Like how, okay, it doesn't, I guess you just can't pause it, huh?
No, you can pause it.
Okay.
Yep. At any point in time, basically, any player can go, all right, hold on, I gotta deal with something.
There's a lot of
and then it just pauses for everybody. So,
yeah. Anyway, I could go on.
It works better than you might think. Actually,
I bet there's probably a thing where I could just turn off the endgame threat because there's like so many options, and just do my fucking space hippie shit. So that's maybe I probably sound like a whiny bitch. I did. Oh, did I mention that? So I balkanized the Billnox pretty early, and then like 30 hours later, the remnants of their culture that hadn't been sucked up by the Sindorthians or whatever, the guys to my north, they came calling and they said like, "Yo, can we join?" So the people who cut me off ended up joining my empire. Like, it expanded my borders. We basically annexed them. We did what America did to Texas to the Billnox. And so
if you like, and this is something that you can do in the game as well, is you can go to a larger empire and be like, hey, can you look after me?
Yeah, there's like a super empire. They're called, I think, fallen empires that are like, you know how every science fiction has the like Halo has the Forerunners, Mass Effect has what they call the Protheans. Like every science fiction has like the old aliens who are super powerful and have magic, like the Prometheans in Alien. Those guys basically are in there, and they were chilling, and then they were like, "Oh, we're back. We're gonna conquer the galaxy." And my only like diplomatic option was like, "Yo, I submit immediately." I was like, "No, I ain't about that life." But yeah, there's some ways you can play it.
It's a good game. I like it.
All right. You want to jump into questions?
Yeah, sure. Did you want to talk about Voltron before we did? Because we didn't talk about it last time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, we can. It was good, and I liked it. I
agree.
Really I was really happy with it. I think the thing that everyone's going to focus on is the fact that they did another here's gay Shiro, but we're not going to really go into it thing.
2 frames. 2 frames of animation.
Right. I get that. They could have done better. They tried at the last minute to make up for it. It was a weak attempt. I'm glad they did it anyway, but it was pretty weak sauce. But you know what?
It's like Legend of Korra, where it's like, I'm glad, but we're gonna look back in 50 years and be like, remember when that was good enough?
Yeah, I feel you. But in Legend of Korra, they held hands. In this, he got married to a man.
Yeah.
Like, it's not ambiguous in any way. At least it's very clear. I mean, he kissed him and everything. So at least there's that. But yes, I super agree. Yeah, I would have preferred more. This is what we got. If that's our biggest complaint about the series, that sucks. But the series was still good, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I love the last season. You know what? Actually, I do have another complaint about the last season.
Wait, I want to go full spoilers, so I want to throw in a spoiler horn. Because the thing I actually want to talk about is a huge spoiler, so I'm putting that out there.
Yeah, fair enough. The only thing that also bugged me about the last season was the woman who, I can't remember her name, and I'm sorry. The woman who used to work for Lotor and then joined the good guys. She was having trouble fitting in, and then one of the women was like, "Hey, I'm gonna teach you how to be with us, and we're gonna be friends." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Maybe the rest of the season we'll check back in with them like every other episode." And we'll see like character development, or maybe they'll be like friends, or maybe they'll date. Who knows what will happen? But like literally nothing happened. Yeah. Like that was it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, cool. This will be like part of the series or part of the last season. No, not at all.
It was a really undermined resource.
Yeah, it really was.
They spent like half the season being like, oh, all those dangling loose threads? We're gonna mention them. Mention a lot.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like, the last 5 or 6 episodes are just a fight. Yeah. It's just a long ass fight. And you know what? That's fine for an action series, I guess, but it also felt like you could have cut that into 2 or 3 episodes and then had 2 more episodes where we could have gone into some of those loose threads. But this is what you went for, I guess.
That's a recurring problem in Voltron, is that it always feels like it's like the seasons are either too short or too long or paced weirdly. Because it's always like, now we're going to have 6 episodes where people keep trading who's in what lion. It's like, okay, I don't know if that needs to be that long. Or it's going to, there's like, we're going to talk about all of these different plot lines. We're not going to resolve any of them, but we're going to spend like half a season on that, and then the rest of it's all fighting. And there was a whole entire season which was nothing but a war.
Yeah. I did not watch the original series. I saw like I'm sure it was on in my home at some point or another, but I don't remember anything about it. But I still enjoyed the season premiere where Pidge is like, I'm going to pretend to be the Pidge from the TV series and get stuff. That was kind of fun. Cute. I enjoyed that. I liked how they addressed the previous series by basically Hunk saying, yeah, and some of us are different. And I didn't even know what he meant, so I had to look up what the characters looked like. I'm like, oh, you're all white. You're like white people and stuff, and then in the new series, you're actually a lot of different people, which is make more sense, because you're all over the damn earth. But that was like one way to like wink at it, I guess. And I enjoyed the season premiere, even though, as Austin said right before the hiatus, it was aggressively heterosexual.
And that's what the spoiler I want to talk about. The emotional core of the final season is that the female lead hooks up with like the Xander of the show for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There's always a Xander who's like a fucking dick who wants to get the girl and then inexplicably does. And then the rest of the season where they're like, oh, we're in love now, and then at the end it's like, I have to die because magic. And then she dies because magic, and that's it. The end. That was not satisfying to me. I don't really feel like they earned it, and it kind of fridged her.
It was totally tacked
Wait a minute. On. Hold on. They didn't fridging someone. That term means that is motivation for what they're going to do later on. That is the last thing that happens in the series.
Yes. It's not 100%. It's they killed her for his emotional payoff, not necessarily his motivation. I realize it's not a literal exact example. But
okay.
It was unearned at the very least.
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't. I guess I didn't see it that way because the entire season was her basically saying that I will do anything to make this happen. I will sacrifice myself. There was all this stuff leading up to that. That didn't come out of nowhere.
I feel like
to me
any of them could have died, and you could say like, oh, they spent the whole season working up to being able to lay it all on the line to save the world. I don't think that's untrue. I just feel like with all the characters available to make the heroic sacrifice, they had to do like the most developed female character so that the show could end with her boyfriend feeling sad, which honestly did not work for me. I don't think it was like hateful. I don't think they're bad for doing it. It didn't do anything for me, especially coming off the Adventure Time finale where a character decides to sacrifice themselves and then doesn't, and like they didn't die, and I cried. That emotional beat worked for me in that moment. I felt it in a way that I did not feel this sacrifice, which did happen. So that's my experience.
Okay. That's fair, but side note, Pidge is the most developed female character.
I do love Mia Pidge, although I kept feeling like I want her to have her own spin-off where she just does some hood rat Pidge shit instead of all this other stuff.
When at the very end, when Pidge looks like she was basically saving the universe with robots, I was like, oh, if they ever do a thing, like apparently Avatar just has like a couple other series that happened afterwards. I've never seen Avatar or the other series. We mentioned Korra earlier, but if they ever do a thing with Voltron, like, oh, maybe we'll do a series where we look at the life of one of the Paladins. Pidge would be the one that I would be most interested in.
Absolutely. The Adventures of Pidge,
what happened.
Co-starring occasionally Hunk, is the show I would watch.
That's fair.
And the mice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I super hate Pidge's mom, by the way. So there's that.
Yeah, I mean, she's shrill in a TV mom way, but I that actually kind of did work for me. Like, I bought their like loving animosity for whatever reason.
So yeah, I mean, I liked it. I get what you're saying. I didn't feel quite that way. Mostly because of when it happened. I guess you could, if it happened and that was like the impetus for Lance becoming a different character halfway through the series, I'd be like, this sucks. I wanted more of Allura, and we didn't need to do that just so Lance can grow. But since it happened as the very last thing, I was like, yeah, that seems natural to me. I don't know.
Okay. Also, there was a part where someone turned evil, and then they unturned evil through the power of lesbianism, which is pretty sweet. That just literally happened. I don't think that's an exaggeration to say the thing I just said.
Yeah. So there was a little more gay content, I guess, in this season. So that was nice, I guess.
Yeah.
It wasn't as. Here's the thing: their relationship was more developed than the explicitly gay one in the last two frames, where they literally got married.
And I feel like they had more chemistry than the straight leads, but that's neither here nor there.
I disagree about that. I feel like the Lance and Allura thing, slow build to that, where they were like. First she was annoyed with him.
Oh my god. Okay, maybe it's just me. I cannot stand that dynamic. I hate you. You're such a slob. And like, oh, you're such a stuck-up princess. But then we secretly love each other.
But that's okay.
Suck
but
my
that's
entire
not
ass,
what
Disney.
But that's not what happened. She was mildly annoyed with him, even though she didn't seem to realize that he was kind of flirting with her, and he was not an asshole to her, and he didn't think that she was stuck up or anything. He was just into her, and she. As these TV romances go, one of them is clueless about the feelings of the other.
He's a Xander, and I can't fuck with Xanders. I just can't fuck with them.
I'm sorry. I disagree. I feel like he grew as a character over time, and that made him fuckable. Basically, he was if Lance and Allura got together as season 1 Lance halfway through the first season, I'd be like, no, unacceptable. But they were like colleagues, and then they became friends, and then they became interested, and then they became lovers, and then she died. That is different to me
died
completely.
Because magic. I mean, you're probably right. If this show has taught us anything, it's that Leon usually has a sixth sense about these things. I feel like he full court Kobe'd the Louis C.K. thing, the Kanye thing.
Yep.
He's just putting up these fucking just phenomenal 3-pointers from the parking lot constantly. So we should all probably just shut up and listen to Leon.
Yeah.
Yeah, All right, anyway, we've talked about this a lot, and we haven't even got to any questions. I feel like we should at least address our audience at some point.
We love you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In spite of everything. Silent Window of Doom at Force Choke 13. Actual thoughts on Moby Dick? We're all erudite nerds here.
I read it a million years ago. I remember, but like I said, I read it a million years ago, which means I don't remember everything about it. I remember like themes. I remember the one chapter that's all about the color white. I can't not think about it.
Best chapter names of all time. It has a chapter called The Nut. It has a chapter called The Crotch.
Yeah. There's stuff like that. I guess as the literature teacher or former literature teacher, you would think I would have some more to say about it. But no, I read it in high school and haven't thought about it. I shouldn't say I haven't thought about it since, but haven't read it or revisited it since. Sorry. It was never anything I taught my students either, because I had to do a syllabus, and that's what I had to do what they told me to do. That's all right.
I do like that. Like, Moby Dick has facilitated one of my favorite internet jokes of all time.
Was that the full script?
Yeah. Clickhole, which is kind of like a sort of a it's like the Onion style kind of BuzzFeed. I think they're associated. I think the Onion and Clickhole are the same company. Yeah. But yeah, they had an article called "This Time I Spent on a Commercial Whaling Ship Totally Changed My Perspective on the World." And the article is nothing but Moby Dick. Like, front to back.
Public domain, baby.
Yeah. So that made me laugh.
That's Johnny's analysis. That's why I love it.
Well, no, I mean, it's a good joke, but as a work of literature, it's been years since I've read it, but I remember, I think I read it when I was like 19 or 18, something like that. I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, I read it in college. You can definitely tell that it got paid by the word back then. Like, there's that's just a true fact about literature of that era, is that there's a lot of words that don't need to be there. But it's interesting, and if you have the emotional space to really get into it, like, it's not something you can casually kind of read, right? You really need to be engaged. I do think there's a lot to enjoy there, but it is work. It's a lot. It's not passive reading.
It's not an easy.
You really got to think about it. Anyway, like that was such a dick way to phrase that. It was like, if you could get on my level, I feel like you could really enjoy it. But yeah, I do think it's good. It's difficult. Yeah, this is cute. Dr. Izix says, "Power to the people." At IzixLP asks, "Favorite thing about each other?"
Oh, Jesus.
Leon is very caring.
Oh.
I appreciate that.
Trying.
Because I always enjoy having what are ostensibly male friendships that are not afraid to be intimate and caring.
Mm-hmm.
I really love that about Leon.
I love Johnny's big dick.
Stop that right now.
That hog, though.
Austin can always make me smile.
I love that Leon has no fucking tolerance for bullshit. I aspire to it, but I cannot bring myself to it. It's very cool the way you just see the lines in the sand and you're like, get on this side or fuck off. Very cool.
Okay. Okay, you said nothing about Johnny.
I said that big hog. You were listening.
I did say good things about my schlong.
Oh my god. No, I'll actually echo what Johnny said. I don't fucks with guys. They're all assholes, and I don't like having men friends. Except for you guys and like a couple other people. Most men are jerks and gross, and you can't talk to them about like sensitive things. I can with you two, and I appreciate that. Most guy friendships that I've had, if you ever try to get real with them, they say like gay or something, and it's like, fuck, why are we friends? And then we're not.
We say gay about stuff we like. We're like, you see that? That was gay.
Yeah. Right. It's so gay. I loved it. I appreciate that aspect of our friendship. That I could do that. Let me get more specifically. That's the big thing. I don't know. I don't know. Just I apologize if this is sort of like general, but you know, you guys are like smart, and I appreciate having like intelligent conversations with people on a regular basis. Johnny's very handsome.
It's just all Johnny's body.
Yeah,
That's it.
It's very good.
Just,
That's the thing. It's just very good.
Just that chiseled chin and that honking land torpedo.
Yeah. I love it when Austin's voice changes.
What does that mean?
That
Both of you have
that.
very infectious laughter.
Yeah, when Austin voice Austin's like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but has certain bro qualities to him, and yet like his voice will reach this comedic pitch when he's talking about something adorable. And I can't impersonate it, or it will sound wrong, but I feel like long-term listeners of the show will know what I mean.
I know exactly what.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I like you guys. You know, you're among my closest friends, and you know, I feel like kind of obvious at this point. But yeah, that stuff.
Audience, just picture us holding hands during that entire segment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sure.
Question from Cyretha.
And also me winking at everybody.
Okay. Question from Cyretha at LS Blackwood on Twitter. What was your game of the year for 2018? I feel like we can expand this to album of the year, movie of the year, if you want to. What are your guys' like 2018 picks? Everyone, there's a lot of questions in here. It's like, oh my god, it's over. Like people being very negative.
My favorite movie of the year was First Reformed. It was directed by Paul Schrader, who was apparently a bit shit.
Oops.
But the movie itself is very, very good. It's about a reverend who is wondering whether or not the world deserves to be saved, and then learns some environmental stuff and decides to become like an eco-terrorist, and it's very good. It's more complicated than that. But it's something, and I liked it a lot. My favorite game of the year, I guess, was Valkyria Chronicles 4. I tried playing what is almost certainly Austin's favorite game of the year, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and I don't dislike it. I am having fun, but I feel like Austin lied to me about it.
Got him.
He said like the story mode is the most complex of all Smash Brothers, and I was like, oh, cool. There's like a story. I've had dozens upon dozens of fights in the world. What is it called? World of Light or something?
Yeah.
Story mode. There is no story so far. I just have fights. There is no dialogue. Nothing has happened. I assume there will be.
I don't know if I said the story
like,
is complicated. I think I specifically said, unlike Subspace Emissary, there are no cutscenes and no story. It's just it's like 600 jokes about like, wouldn't it be funny if we recreated this thing from this Japan only arcade game? It's like a lot of history. It's not story.
Okay. Oh, I must have misinterpreted what you said. I should have never bought this game, is what I'm saying. But I keep playing it because I just, I have like a minute, and then I'll play like 5 minutes of it, and then like, oh, that match sure was short, and I'm done now. I don't listen to music much, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, my game of the year is 100% Super Smash Brothers for Switch. It's not even close. Nothing is even in the same conversation as far as I'm concerned. The only AAA game I think is even worth considering is God of War, and I have criticisms of that game, although it is beautiful, and a lot of it worked for me. There's also a ton of great indie stuff, Into the Breach, Dead Cells, the Return of the Obra Dinn, all very good, but Smash Brothers is mine. Film, sorry to bother you, once again, not even close. I don't think anything is even worth considering alongside of it.
I'm with you there. That's my pick
good.
too.
Yeah, that would be my number two. It was a very, very, very good.
Yeah,
film.
I mean, I don't see anywhere near as many films as you, so I don't speak with authority in film as I often do in video games. But sorry to bother you. Is number one. Music. This is an extremely white guy pick, but God's Favorite Customer by Father John Misty is the one I've played the most. I think Janelle Monáe's album was incredible, but I just did not spin it as much as I did God's Favorite Customer. it just really worked for me. So I think that's my album of the year.
I'm with you, Austin, on the movie pick, as I mentioned. My game of the year is going to be. I mean, this is a bit of a weird pick, but probably the Star Trek: The Next Generation expansion for Bridge Crew. Just because it scratched an itch that I have been waiting to scratch for decades now, of being able to actually sit on the bridge of the Enterprise D, waggle my hands around, and like point at people and say, engage, and like, you know, tussle with the Borg and stuff like that. It's like it just it's probably not obviously the best game of the year, but for crying out loud, it was a childhood dream of mine fulfilled. Album of the year, I gotta go with Transangelic Exodus by Ezra Furman.
Damn, I'm still listening to that one. I listened to it the other day on my walk, and it's like, damn, the first half of that especially is all bangers. Everything classic. Yeah, that's extremely good as well.
Front to back, as far as I'm concerned, it's just like it's a consummate album. The only other contender that I have, I don't know. Nico Case's album Hell On is very good.
Daytona by Pusha T. I know the production on that is problematic, but rap album of the year almost certainly.
Yeah, and I have a special place in my heart for any Spencer Krug project. But I don't think I've listened to the new Moonface album enough times because it only just released a few weeks ago. To be able to authoritatively say that it was one of my favorites. So yeah, I'll stick with Transangelic Exodus.
All right, this is quite a year. A lot of people asked, like, I'm gonna try to find a specific one so I can give credit here. Boop, boop, boop. That's how we do things on this show. I just lost it. Where'd it go? You guys can tell this is a professional operation because I have things prepared so far ahead of time. Where did that go? There it is.
Oh yeah, that's us all over.
Yeah. Jade at Jade the Thief asks, thoughts on 2018 being over? That's the kind of recurring theme here in the questions.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a year. I don't know. It's sometimes people are like, "Oh, thank God, 2018 was over." That's it. It was so bad, and I'm like, "Well, do you think?" I mean,
it's not like it's not over. Over. You know, like it's not like all of the needles that we're pushing into my skin, metaphorically, have all just been like, "Well, it's quitting time."
Yeah. I don't mean to be dismissive because I know for some people, like, the year itself was like it was so sad that like the symbolic changing might give people like the idea that maybe they'll change some things about their lives, and that's good. I don't want to be like a dick about that. But like pretty much all the problems we had the evening of the 31st are still here. A few minutes later. So, but that doesn't necessarily mean problems in your life specifically. I just mean like in general. What do I feel about the year being over? I'm like, I can track progress by the year, and like say, okay, I want to do all these things by this date, and I accomplished them, and that's cool. But like,
I knew that's how this would go, where it'd be like, time is an arbitrary human conception.
I'm perfectly fine to say, thank fuck. Like, put it on the shelf. I never want to look at it again.
Yeah, I do. I'm there in a way because I do make yearly goals for myself. Like at the end, but before the year's out, I want to do this, 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 and this. And if I pressure myself into doing them, or I'll feel bad if I don't. That's how my life works. So I've made some more for this year, and we'll see how they shake out. That's what I got basically.
I'm gonna get swole this year. I've decided. I'm gonna get fucking tore the hell up. I'm gonna be fucking sexy as hell.
Yeah. I'm exercising as well, but not in hopes of doing that at all. That's not me. I just want to lose a little bit of weight, and just be sleeker. That's how I am.
It's not even. I'm not even going to be healthy. It's going to be one of those things where it's all for show, and I'm actually all fucked up inside. It's 100% ego and vanity from here on out, boys.
I just want to go to sleep.
That's the real answer, honestly.
That's my New Year's resolution. Mm-hmm. Bedtime.
So I think we're about out of time here. I have one. I'm going to make this as quick as humanly possible, so as not to torture my co-hosts. But Jay Poirier at Narrowneck on Twitter asks, Austin, how excited are you for the new Magic set? The Azorius looking good. Ravnica Allegiance is in spoiler season as we speak. The Azorius mechanic has been spoiled. It's called Addendum. It's basically like you can cast something at instant speed or sorcery speed with a bonus. It's okay. It seems like it's going to give you some options. The ones that have been spoiled so far seem pretty simple but functional. The 5-mana draw spell at instant speed or sorcery and a scry is fine. The new Dovin Bond does not look good. I don't know what he did to the R&D department, but he seems like a joke to them. They keep, like, people have been arguing, like, oh, you could do a merfolk package to, like, get tempo early in the game or do a bunch of unblockable people, but he's a 3-drop. Why wouldn't I just be playing Goblin Chain Whirler or Resplendent Angel or something? It's a bananas thing to try to design your deck around Dovin Grand Arbiter at this juncture. So I'm disappointed in the individual cards, but the set design looks strong. God, the thing they spoiled yesterday is the new leader of Simic, who has basically Birthing Pod on a stick. The EDH community's already found a 2-card infinite damage combo with her. Absolutely sickening how good that card is. Rakdos looks fine. It's basically just Lord of Riots as a mechanic. Spectacle, it's called. It's fine. Riot's fine. Just get a haste or a 1/1 counter. It's functional. Ooh, the Orzhov mechanic looks dope. Afterlife, when someone dies, they make a ghost. Extremely good for aristocrats. Probably going to be the best mechanic in terms of playability, although I've been wrong before. And Adapt looks fine. Everyone loves to have instant speed combat tricks, and there's probably something to spend those counters on. We haven't seen all of the 4-mana, 2 of each color cycle, or the split cards, the rare split cards. Some of the uncommons have been spoiled, so I can't speak to them yet. But I think it's going to be a good set. It's just not going to be like a sexy set. Like Dominaria was really sexy. I think this is just going to be fine. And that's because they're kind of setting up a status quo for when Nicol Bolas comes in and just pushes everybody's shit in the next one. So that's when it's going to get really bananas. This one's just like setting the table. And they got to do that from time to time. That's fine. But I'm not going to build around Dovin or Lavinia or any of the other Azorius stuff that I've seen so far. So it's not great for me personally, but God, I'm so jealous of the Simic people right now. They're having a fucking field day. Can you believe this shit, Johnny?
No.
Nobody has any idea what I'm talking about.
I haven't paid attention.
Oh, man, there's a 3-drop 3/2 Death Touch Menace, and all your spells get Death Touch, Johnny. What? That's not power creep. That's just arming fucking RC cars with nuclear warheads. What the fuck? God, I should just play Rakdos again. Anyway, sorry about that, Leon. You can come back now, and we can say goodbye to the folks.
Yeah. Trying to think if there's anything else I need to talk about this week, but I can't think of it. But that's okay. If it comes to me, I will talk about it next week.
Johnny, in Stellaris, I found some abandoned ring worlds, like the giant metal structures in space that you can make things on, and I repaired 2 of them, and I called them Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2. Those are the names of basically habitable planets for me. So all the planets had like pre-generated names. There was like Parathundar and Skularphanops, and then Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2.
Very well done. Excellent. I approve.
Oh my god! Oh, I remember the thing I was going to tell you about. I watched Wrestle Kingdom, which is New Japan Pro Wrestling's show. I can't go into all of it right now, but I did want to let Austin know that when the at the time world champion came out, that being Kenny Omega, his big huge TV Tron thing that's behind him that like shows like clips of who he is or whatever as he walks down the ramp. It actually showed him as an Undertale character.
Yeah, Toby Fox made that video.
Say again?
Toby Fox, the guy who made Undertale, they worked on that together. I saw them tweeting about it.
Oh, you actually already know that. Okay, cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. All right. In that case, I'm done. Let's leave.
Let's leave.
Now that your roses